is it provides a good indicator for how we should handle these types of situations. Beginning in verse 22, it says, "The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and he crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had." And verse 24 says, "And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, 'Let me go, for the day has broken.' But Jacob said, 'I will not let you go until you bless me.' And he said to him, 'What is your name?' And he said, 'Jacob.' Then he said, 'Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed.' Then Jacob asked him, 'Please tell me your name.' But he said, 'Why is it that you ask my name?' And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, 'For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered.' The sun rose upon him as he passed Peniel, limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the people of Israel do not eat the sinew of the thigh that is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip on the sinew of the thigh." Now, Jacob is preparing to go meet his brother. I didn't read this part of the text, but he's trying to grease the axle, if you will. He sends some gifts ahead to Esau in an attempt to appease him. And in the meantime, it says on that same night, it says that Jacob sends his family and his possessions across the Jabbok River. The Jabbok River is a tributary that flows into the Jordan River, and now he is alone. Now, the text doesn't tell us why it is that he stayed behind. You could conjecture here and say, well, maybe it was because he was afraid of Esau. Maybe it was a strategy for drawing Esau's ire. Maybe he thinks, I'll send them and they won't get harmed, but maybe Esau will come after me here. We really don't know why he stayed, but you know who did know? God knew. And God had a plan in him staying. And it says in verse 24 that a mystery man began to wrestle with Jacob. Now, we don't know what provoked the attack, but you see on the screen sort of a graphic of this. By the way, I love AI because I didn't draw that myself. But you can put some verbiage in and it'll create a great picture. And really this whole event is sort of a play on words. The word wrestled, the river Jabbok, Jacob's name, all are a reference to really his selfish nature, and it's a prelude to the upcoming name change that's about to happen. But we'll get to that in just a moment. It tells us, the text does, that the battle continued through the night. Now, you might have imagined that Jacob was well equipped to fight someone, right? I mean, after all, he's still in the womb. His brother's on his way out. What's he doing? He's grabbing for him. And I don't know what kind of hold he got on his ankle, but it must have been something, or up on his heel. We know that he was strong because, remember, when he came to the well and Rachel comes out, he was able to himself physically move the stone that usually took multiple men to move. He's worked all these years, 20 years, tending to Laban's flock. So he was a strong man. And whoever it is that he's wrestling with, we'll get to that in a moment as well, in an attempt to gain an advantage, had some ability to do something as simple as touch his hip and throw it out of socket. It's at this point that the mystery man says, "Let me go, for the day has broken." Now, I don't know about you. I've had a dislocated shoulder before, completely out of socket. I wouldn't have wanted to keep fighting in that moment. And yet here's Jacob says, he didn't say it this way because it's not proper English, but I ain't letting you go until you bless me. It must have been something about the dawning of the day that apparently gave Jacob enough clarity to know that this mystery man was more than a man. And what does he do? He seeks a blessing from him. Remember, Jacob's already gotten the birthright. He's already gotten the firstborn blessing. He's prospered, but there was something more that he needed. He needed an explicit blessing from God. And he gets it. It says right here, verse 29, he didn't tell him his name, but he says, and there he blessed him. Now, the text doesn't tell us what the blessing was, but we can sort of probably discern here based on the situation. Remember, he's fleeing Laban. He's running into Esau. I think the context would lead us to believe that the blessing was the power to overcome his fears and to overcome his adversaries. And isn't that what we need? When life is closing in, when you're between a rock and a hard place, when you're hemmed in, isn't that what you need? You can't go backwards. You don't seem to be able to go forward. What do? You need God's power and you need God's strength. And this moment had an incredible impact on the life of Jacob because not only did he come away with a blessing, he came away with a new name. You see, his old name, Jacob, meant grasper. It meant deceiver. But his name changed to Israel would have signified not only a change in name, but a change in character. Israel, by the way, the name means one who struggles with God. That doesn't mean necessarily one who's fighting with God, trying to get away from God, but one who, in some senses, as the Bible says, is working out their salvation. You're working it through with God. By the way, if you're going to live the Christian life is not some zippity-doo-dah down easy street. Far from it. Dallas Willard, who wrote a wonderful book called Renovation of the Heart, talks about really committing yourself to the Christian life is